Hey there everyone, today I'm going to walk you through my development budget cash flow distribution module. Now this is a module, it's not standalone, but it's a way to model project cash flows over a certain number of periods with different methods. One method being manual input, so you manually input this is how much I'm spending in month 1 versus month 2 versus month 3, and you do that manually. The second is straight line, where the model takes the total amount for that budget item, divides it by the number of periods that you're going to be spending on that budget item, and then distributes it evenly across that number of periods. And the third, and the whole reason I built this model, was for the S-curve distribution. And how an S-curve works is essentially, think about it in terms of hard costs and construction, right? So the first few months of construction, you're going to be ramping up, so you're going to be spending less. But then as construction heats up, you get kind of the middle of a construction period. That's where you're going to be spending the most. And then as construction begins to wind down, you're going to spend less and less. And so if we graph that, the monthly cash flows look like a normal distribution curve, if you recall from your statistics courses in college. Or if we graph that on a cumulative basis, it looks like an S tipped over on its side. And so that's what we're going to do, or that's what this model does for us. I'm going to walk you through how to use it right now. So the first input is your analysis start date. I'm just going to make this January 2016 is our start. The next is the steepness of our S-curve. Okay, so what this does is right now, using a standard deviation in our normal distribution formula, we're getting this sort of curve. Now we can flatten that by choosing a different standard deviation. So I'm going to use moderate here, that's a 3, and you'll notice we spend more in the early periods, less in the middle periods. For this exercise, I'm going to keep it steep, but just so you know, if you want to, you can come into the raw data tab and you can actually change the standard deviations. The higher it is, the steeper the curve is, the lower it is, the flatter the curve is. Interesting, just to show, if we go to flat, a 1, it is almost straight line. Here we look at the normal distribution. I mean, it's almost straight line. And so you may have budget line items that are almost straight line, but you want a little bit of S-curve to them, and then in that case you might use the flat. But here we're going to use the steep. So let's look at our budget items. Again, this is a really simple module, but it illustrates how we do this. So I have 4 budget items here, and then I have an analysis period that lasts 24 months. I have an error check that when the sum of these, or this line here, of all the periods equals the amount of the budget item, then it outputs OK. If it doesn't sum up, then it'll output in a red font incomplete, and that means there's an error that you need to fix, and I'll show you how that's done here in a second. The other thing to note is we have a sum line here that's going to sum the cash flows of each budget item, and this is the line you're most likely going to output to your development model as an outflow, right, in your DCF. Or you can use this for a host of other things, if nothing else, just to forecast. For instance, construction interest. You're going to need to calculate construction interest on the total amount that's been spent out, and you're going to want to do that in some forecasting model that's more accurate than just simply straight lining it. Okay, so with that, let's go in and I'll walk you through each one. Acquisition. I'm going to say that this costs $610,000 to buy, of which $10,000 is our due diligence cost. Now you immediately notice that when I put 610 in, our error check says incomplete. Well, the reason it says incomplete is our cash flow distribution method is set as manual input. What this is saying is we're going to manually input by hand the amount of cash flow that, or how the cash flow is distributed for the acquisition. And we're going to start, so the outflow or the cash flow begins in period 1, and the length of those cash flows are, in this case, I'm going to say 2. And my thinking is period 1 or month 1, we're going to spend on due diligence. Period 2 or month 2 is when we're actually going to close and spend the other $600,000. Now, in order to manually input, we come and we're going to open up some hidden columns here, and then I use conditional formatting to change to blue cells the cells that you're going to be manipulating here. So we have 610,000 to distribute. We're going to do it manually. 10,000 in month 1, 600,000 in month 2. When I hit enter here, the air check is going to change to OK, and there we have it. Manually inputted. We're going to close those columns. Go to hard cost. So our hard cost 3 million distributed in an S curve. Now we're going to start in month 2. Now we could start this in month 1 and go for 24 months, and that would be again evenly over this. Actually we're going to start in month 3, and that's a 22 month length. And then you'll notice here in the graph, these two graphs are only graphing our hard costs, just so I can show you how this works. You notice month 1 and month 2, no outflows, and then a normal distribution curve to distribute the 3 million over these 22 periods, like so. And you can see that here. So that's our hard costs. Soft costs, 250,000. I'm going to up this to 300,000. Oops. This is straight line over 24 periods. I'm actually going to start this in month 2 for 23 months. It should end in month 24. Now, if I have too many months, this will say incomplete, and the reason is it's trying to add, or it has cash flows left over that are happening in month 25, and there is no month 25 in our analysis period, so this needs to be 23. Gives us our OK, and again, this is now the this divided by the length, or our budget amount divided by the length, evenly distributed in each period. And then finally, tenant improvements. We're going to spend, I'm going to say 250,000. And tenant improvements are coming at the end. So we're going to start, we'll build the building, and then we'll fit it out at the end. We're going to start in month 21. This is going to be a 4-month fit out. And so then you'll see here, and this isn't graph, so I'll come over and show you. But it is an S-curve. The first month of tenant improvements, 25,000. The middle months, 100,000 each. Last month, 25,000. That's again our S-curve. And when we sum those up, the air check, if we come out here to the far right, is OK. And that means that the sum of these cash flows equals the sum of our budget items. Now, I also want to show you how to add budget items here. And it shouldn't be too difficult, but what we need to understand first is how the workbook is set up. I have 3 worksheets, or 3 tabs. The budget, which is where we're going to input our values, and we'll also see the outputs. I have an S-curve tab. This is where the S-curve formula is used. And providing the source, Ben Bullock on MrExcel.com is the one who created this formula. Props, hat off to Ben for that. And so on this tab here is calculating the S-curve for each of these budget items. Now keep in mind, we may not necessarily use one item. That depends on this input here. But if we choose S-curve here, then it's going to come to this tab and it's going to use this cash flow stream. Okay. And then a raw data, of course, is our data validation list there, and then our S-curve distribution, both for data validation list, as well as a VLOOKUP that we use when we calculate here the standard deviation for each of these budget line items. So to how to add additional lines, you'll notice that I've lined up the rows to the budget items in the S-curve tab as well as the budget tab to be the same. And the reason I did that is if we select each tab, and to do that you click this tab, hit Control, click the budget, and you'll notice now these two are both selected. Let's go to the budget tab. Again, they're still selected. And I'm going to insert a row right here. So I'll hit Shift Spacebar, and that selects this entire row. Then I'm going to hit Control plus, and that adds a row. You'll notice that as soon as I added that, the conditional formatting, I hope, the conditional formatting that was attached to the above row gets added to this. I'm going to add a budget item here. We're going to call this, actually 1 second here, yep. We're going to call this, how about site costs. Now they would typically be built into our hard costs, but just for this exercise we'll do that. We're going to say that they're 120,000. We're going to use an S-curve here. We're going to start these in month 2. Going to go for 3 months. Now, the issue is none of the formulas copied down, right? So the formatting copied down, the formulas didn't, neither on the budget tab or the S-curve tab. And some of this here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unselect, so we're not selecting both of these. And I probably should have done it before I added these, but it doesn't matter at this point in time. We're going to hit raw data, just so we can unselect these 2 tabs. We're going to come back to the budget tab. And let's just copy the formulas down. So we'll just go ahead over like this, select all of these. It's also selecting the hidden rows, right? Or the hidden columns, I'm sorry. Actually, let's go all the way over to here. And then we're just going to grab this little ellipsis down here, and we're going to pull down 1. And that copied it. Now, the problem we have, right, is it's incomplete. Well, the reason it's incomplete is it's pulling from this line here, which is empty right now. So in order to fix this, it's pretty simple. We go here, we copy, or we select all of these. We do a similar thing. We copy on down. And there you have it. We added a budget line item. And you can do that for 10 budget line items if you want. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for your time, and happy modeling.